What a week. You know, like I don't want to jinx it, but I'm feeling pretty good. I think we got him. I think. In case you didn't know, Diddy. Diddy has been arrested and charged with just almost everything. Initially, it was sealed, and we just knew they were going to be holding him for a little while. And then they unsealed, and we were like, what? Because Diddy is very important for people to understand. Diddy is, when I say a monster, it's just because I don't want to swear. Diddy isn't a monster the way that, like, a person in your life that you know is evil is a monster. Diddy is a monster in the way that I'm pretty sure even the devil is like, ooh. Ooh, somebody coming for my job. And I know that, you know, you're supposed to say allegedly. But he did all of it. He did everything. He did everything that I believe that Diddy did whatever they say he did. And that doesn't just apply to like the cases he has now. I believe Diddy did stuff he hadn't been accused of yet. I believe Diddy caused inflation. He's even, if I'm not mistaken, being charged with arson in connection with blowing up Kid Cudi's car. Who blows up cars? Let's talk for a sec, because here's the thing. I do understand the intimidation and the general paranoia you build in a person's life when you blow up their car. All right? So I get why people like Diddy and the mob blow up cars. It's very effective. You know, somebody's thinking about testifying and then they're going out and then they go, beep, beep, boosh. And they're like, maybe not. But to blow up a car, really, because he's not blowing up the car himself. Diddy wasn't getting under the car with something with wheels on it in the back and then rubbing wires together and then taping it and then letting the tape fall and be like, and then taping it back. He sent someone else to do that, you know? But they arrested him, and they arrested him. I gotta look at this again to make sure I'm right, but I'm pretty sure the warrant had every name he ever went by in it. Just in case he opened the door and been like, who? No, I don't know a Puff Daddy. No, there's not a Puff here either. Would you be looking for just a general Diddy? Because he's not in. I go by Brother Love. This man did everything. You know, and then they arrested him. They got him locked up in Brooklyn in one of the worst places to be locked up. It's really bad. Here's how bad it is. It's so bad that prison alone has had several murders, several. And it is so bad condition-wise that 2 federal judges have already said that they will not send anyone else there. That's where they sent him. And this dude... That's where they sent him. And this dude wanted to make sure he didn't go to jail so bad. So bad. Properly. Like he put it all up. This dude was willing to pay a $50 million bond. Do you know how much you did it? To put up $50 million. $50 million is the type of money where you're like, I can't, first of all, most people don't make $50 million in their entire life, right? So for you to put up that money, just not be in jail yet, you know jail is coming. $50 million. Do you know what you could do with $50 million? You could fix a small country with $50 million US dollars. $50 million, and he was like, and I'll use my home and my jets as the bond. Like, this dude was putting up proper collateral of things he has. Mansion, jet, all of it. And the state said, nah. Just to fully paint the picture, do you realize that the same country that said nah to that is the same country that has bail at heights that are actually unconstitutional for regular people, right? They will, if a judge doesn't like you, or if they feel like, okay, this person maybe he didn't do it, but I know he doesn't have means, they will set an unreasonably high bail, which is against the Constitution, just to make sure you can't get out. But they didn't deny your bail. They just set bail at something you couldn't possibly pay, right? That same country got offered $50 million bond. And they were like, nah, because I know you. You know how bad they want you if they don't accept a $50 million bond? And so he's sitting in that jail, and his lawyers are trying to get him out. They went to that judge, and the judge was like, no, I heard what you do. You blow up cars for no reason. How am I supposed to believe? They're like, he's not a flight risk. It's like, no, he won't have to fly if he tampers with every witness we have. No. So the judge denied bail, and then they went to another judge, and they were like, look, $50 million, okay? Got the mansion, got the jets, all right? We also, how about this? I'll stay at home. All right, and I won't interact with any women that aren't the mothers of my children, right? Which is a crazy, what? I won't interact with any women except the women I already terrorize. What an insane. Also, we know you're a predator to dudes too. Like that you're not being slick, being like, I won't talk to any women. No. This dude is the devil. So they denied it again. And his lawyers were pleading. They were like, please, listen, the prison that he is in it's horrible. It's absolutely disgusting. It's terrible conditions. It's traumatizing. It's in his mental health. You can't be at a place like this, And then the more they described it, the more I was listening. I was like, that just sounds like Diddy's house for everybody else. And raided his house, found all manner of stuff. They found 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Let's be clear here. Diddy is a monster. Diddy is the devil, right? The 1,000 bottles alone was enough for me to lock him up forever. Are you drinking it? 1,000 bottles. 1,000. Wooka booka. I went to a friend's house one time, and it was just like a little quick get together. They had made dinner and everything. I went to the bathroom, right? And I had a headache before I got to the party. So then, I told them while I was there, I was like, hey, I've been having this headache for like hours. Do you have like an Advil, something I can take? And they were like, yeah, go to the bathroom in the medicine cabinet, should be the Advil, right? And so then, chatting, I finally go over to the bathroom. I open the medicine cabinet. The Advil is not there. And so I go to that lower part, under the sink. I'm like, maybe the Advil will be under there. And under the sink, I saw 3 bottles of baby oil. And I was like, these are some freaks. They do not have a child. And they had 3 bottles of baby oil. 1 bottle means you get busy. 3, what are you stocking up for? The fact that Diddy had 1,000 means he should be under a prison right now. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine what it would be like to be Diddy's lawyer. You gotta imagine it's a pretty good job to have. Because he's about to drop millions and millions of dollars in court and on lawyers that no one expects to win. Think about that. Anyone in here could be Diddy's lawyer. Like, he's not gonna beat the case anyway. It might as well be me standing there like, yeah, that's him. He says he didn't, so take that into consideration. You know what I mean? Just filing motions. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah. That is crazy. I mean, what can you do if you're Diddy's lawyer? They have so much. They have so much because Diddy did so much. He did it and he recorded it. He recorded himself doing everything he did and blackmailing people. So then when the people say he's been blackmailed, the tape, the feds already have the tape that they're talking about that was being used to blackmail them. So he basically made his own case this entire time. As Diddy's lawyer, all you can do is be like, that one tape is grainy. We don't know. We don't even know if that's him in that one, okay? The other 222, yes, but this one is hard to make out who is in there at all. We don't. Diddy's lawyer was on camera taking questions from the media, which seems like a bad idea. Because unless Diddy has a twin, his lawyer didn't have anything to say that's helpful. Because the lawyer was just talking to some of the press, and there was someone who asked him. They said that they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil when they raided his house, and his lawyer did his best. He put in a valiant effort. This man said, well, I don't know if it was 1,000. It was a lot. That's your lawyer. It was a lot. But you know, there's a Costco just down the street from his house, and as you know, Americans love to buy in bulk. The whole time he's talking, you could tell he's trying not to laugh. It's like, if he's buying the baby oil in bulk, why wasn't anything else in bulk? It's insanity. We should have known, and I think a part of us did know, that Diddy was the devil when he did Making the Band. If you're too young to remember, there was a time when MTV had music on it. And in that time, Diddy, who I think went by P. Diddy at the time, maybe, or Puff, or it was Puff, he was him, okay? And he did a show where he would try to make a group, right? A hip-hop group or an R&B group or whatever. And throughout the course of that show, he would America's Next Top Model these people, all right? He would put them through absolute hell. There was one time that I think he made them walk, I'm gonna get this wrong, but he made them walk from like Brooklyn to Harlem to go get him a piece of cheesecake. And we watched it and we were like, that seems excessive. I don't know what that has to do with singing. The show ran for a few seasons and a couple of people came out of it, but most of the groups pretty much failed because he wasn't really making a group. He was just manipulating people. He was just being terrible, you know? I think we should have really known who Diddy was through and through a couple Halloweens ago. Because I don't know if you remember, but Diddy went as the Joker, and he was an impeccable Joker. This dude had prosthetics on or something, and he looked more like the Joker than Heath Ledger did. This dude had the hair and everything flopping to the side and stuff, and he had the movements going. He had a purple suit, had the green hair and the red lips and the big scars and everything. It was truly terrifying. And everyone he ran into was like, oh, good costume. Chose Halloween to dress up as the Joker. Halloween, a day where we all put on a mask. We all pretend to be someone else, except that nigga. Like, that man was just wearing his true skin. This dude was walking around as a Joker like, I've never felt more free. Everybody terrified when they look at me. He rolled up on Tyler, the Creator. And Tyler, the Creator, was just looking at him like, He got into it that night with an actor on the show Power. I believe his name is Michael J. Ferguson. And I don't know what started the altercation, but all I know is people started filming it, right? And it was Michael J. hands low and everything. He had big muscles, he's a big dude and everything. And he's cursing Diddy out. Right now, he just thinks he's cursing this weird Joker out, I think. You know what I mean? Because he's just going at him, what? What you gonna do? Nothing, you know? And then Diddy, for his part, you see the turn. You got to see every little piece of Diddy in that moment. Because at first it starts out, and I really don't even know who was in the wrong, but Diddy just seemed a bit offended. He was like, what did I do to you? I'm just out here trying to have fun and everything. And then you see a turn, and then he's like, well, then let's go. Why would you? And then the threats come and everything, and then someone else goes, yo, Mike, that's Diddy. And he doesn't seem to care. He just keeps jawing at him. And then Diddy, for some reason, decides to like let it go, right? Even gives him a hug. And he was like, oh, it's all good, man. But how about you come to the after party and check the vibration? I was like, man, this is the devil. Where is Batman when you need him? There's two types of blackmail that Diddy engaged in, right? One was the blackmail that was coercion, right? It was basically, he would have these freak-offs. That's the name of it. I didn't come up with that just now. Don't look at me like I'm sick. I saw your faces. I said it because it's the official term. It's in a government document now. It's not just street slang. It's not Twitter talk. They said, the Attorney General said freak off when he was addressing the nation. So I'm saying freak off. Well, he would have these freak offs, right? And, you know, he would be recording while it was happening. And one of the things that he would do is that if somebody was an unwilling participant and they ever turned on him or told him that they were going to go to the police or they just weren't going to do what he said, he would tell them he had a tape of them and they wouldn't want to get that tape out, right? So he would blackmail them that way. But the other way he would blackmail people is he would have these wild parties and he would be taping everybody. So if you just show up and you do something you're not supposed to be doing, maybe you cheat on your spouse, maybe you do. He's got blackmail on everybody, top to bottom. Two types of blackmail. It's absolutely crazy. So many people want this dude dead. They put Diddy on watch, make sure he doesn't hurt himself, because it would make a lot of sense. If there was ever a time to do it, it'd be now, Diddy. And so they put him on watch and everything, and that's gotta be wild to be like a powerful person, one of Diddy's friends, you know, knowing you were at some of these freak-offs, knowing that he has dirt on you. He might tell on you, and you just sitting there at home just praying. You know, I don't know who wants him dead more, his victims or his friends. That dude is such a monster, and now every clip of him being weird ever has resurfaced. And it turns out he was being weird the whole time. This dude went on Conan and basically just started giving a blueprint for how to get people at your party to take their clothes off. This dude was on Conan O'Brien. Conan was sitting there being like, this sounds bad. And by the way, this is old, this isn't recent. This is like what looks like early Conan, so it's still a little grainy, even though I was watching it on Twitter, and he's over here, and he was skinnier, and he had his shades on inside at night and everything. All the stuff we used to let him get away with. And he was like, oh yeah, you know, you want to make sure that you don't have the air conditioning on, you know, and you got to really have a lot of alcohol for people and a little bit of water, but mostly alcohol. And Conan was like, oh. You could see in Conan's eyes, he was fighting to find a commercial. He was Diddy talking like it's nothing. And like, he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Oof. This is one of the wildest things to me about Diddy, right? Is that he made an enemy a long time ago in a man named 50 Cent. 50 Cent hates Diddy so much. Okay. You ever been in a situation where, let's say there's somebody that you work with, right? And y'all, we're both just regular people, but y'all work together and you don't know what it is, but you hate them. And it's not even because they're bad at their job. They're not even being particularly annoying on purpose, but you can't stand. Every time they pass by, you want to grit your teeth. You hate them. You don't even know why. You don't know where it came from. You just hate them so much. Maybe they have a little quirk, or maybe they chew real loud. Maybe they chew so loud you can tell what they're eating. You know, just something real gross. Maybe they swallow weird and you can hear their esophagus and stuff. And y'all take your lunch at the same time, so you sitting in there while they eating, enjoying it, yumming it up. You put your AirPods in, you can't drown it out. You still hear and then every swallow just and you're like, that I hate. Ooh. And then things keep happening because y'all work together. Y'all work at the same job, so you have to interact with them. Maybe they're even in a different department, but you have to interact with them from time to time, and you hate it because they always bring up the weirdest conversations. They got a lot of feelings about tube socks. 6 sentences into a conversation, you're like, who is this dude? What? Y'all get each other for Secret Santa. You're like, I don't even know what they're gonna get me, but I know it's gonna be weird. Can't stand them. And then one day you're at work and you're at your wit's end, you know, because you hate them so much that you've actually been watching them. Watching them, waiting for them to do something fireable. You know? You even buddy up to HR just so that whenever you bring your case to HR, they'll be like, hey, yeah, buddy, I got you. I've been worried about him too, you know? Going to work, you can't stand this dude. You hate him so much. Sometimes you just look at the back of his head and you don't even know it's you doing it, but all of a sudden you standing behind him and your fist is right there. You hate this dude, and then one day you're at work, regular day. You at work, he's at work, and out of nowhere, you couldn't have imagined it. Truly out of nowhere, Homeland Security comes. And arrest this dude in his big mink coat or whatever he's wearing. No, I don't think anybody felt, more vindicated that was on the outer edges of Diddy's sphere than 50 Cent. 50 Cent had hated that dude for years. And look, 50 Cent isn't the one. Don't mess with 50 Cent because not only is he funny, which is already dangerous, he's so funny that you can tell he a natural bully. You ever been bullied by somebody and then went and tell people what they did and the people you told were like, that is funny though, like that is... I know it's wrong, but that was pretty good, like... Because we're not talking even about bullying in the terms of violence. I'm talking about bullying in like waiting for you to get real excited about something and then tricking you right at... Okay. 50 Cent, early in his career, he couldn't stand a dude named Ja Rule. If you don't know who Ja Rule is, then 50 Cent did his job. 50 Cent hated Ja Rule and hated him in a way that I was like, something deeper is going on here. Because you don't just hate a coworker this bad off of nothing. But he couldn't stand him. He felt like he was fake. There was even a series on BET called Beef. Beef was amazing because Beef would make these mini documentaries about different beefs that were happening in all of hip-hop, throughout history and currently. And at the time, one of the current ones was 50 Cent and Ja Rule. And they had interviewed both of them because what they would do with the show that was brilliant was that they wouldn't just like give you this like faceless voiceover David Attenborough documentary style. Like, they really got interviews from everybody, you know? And so then they interviewed Ja Rule. At one point, he was on the couch with some of his buddies, and they asked about 50 Cent, and he was just, who? 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 And they interviewed 50 Cent, and 50 Cent was ready. I don't know where 50 Cent was, but I think he made the smart decision to go ahead and be on a balcony or somewhere outside in case he got loud. And he just went in on Ja Rule like they had been longtime enemies. These are two dudes who I'm pretty sure don't know each other at all. But 50 Cent, at one point, he even said, this dude, I'll never forget this. This is when I fully understood like hate on a petty level in my life for the first time. Because I was a teenager watching Beef on BET. And he was on the balcony, so the balcony railing's about here. And 50 Cent just, they did a perfect job with the editing, by the way. They keep cutting back and forth. So every time they give a detail about Ja Rule, 50 Cent said something treacherous, right? It was really great, you know, because then Ja Rule would say something along the lines of like, I'm a star, I don't need to worry about up-and-comers hating on me, blah, blah, blah. And then it would cut to 50 Cent. 50 Cent would be like, yeah, go hang out with the pop stars and Christina Aguilera, whoever you want, if they'll accept you. But dog, you fake, you're fake, you're fake. Like, it was like he was getting angrier and angrier throughout the interview. And I remember the interview because the last time they cut to him, I've never seen anything like it. They cut to this dude one last time, and he just went, psh. 50 Cent hated Ja Rule. And then Ja Rule got into it with Eminem. And Eminem and Dr. Dre had, signed 50 Cent, and they were a huge part of his career, especially on the come up, and they collaborated a bunch, and they, were touring together. They would have toured together more if Eminem hadn't decided to stay home and be with family and stuff like that. They tight, right? Making incredible music together, classics. And Ja Rule went at 50 Cent, went at Eminem, because he didn't have a crystal ball. He couldn't see the future. And it went terribly for him. I mean, Eminem just ripped him apart in several songs with references. There were moments, Eminem is too funny, Eminem had a song with him. Haley's in the song, and she's like, is Ja Rule bigger than me? And Eminem said, no, sweetie, y'all are the same size. And Eminem, for his part, was very much above board. I don't really have a problem with you. I was even almost about to squash it. And then you mentioned my daughter's name. My daughter's a kid, man. And so he just went at him, right? And destroyed him thoroughly. But 50 Cent was on a different level. 50 Cent was like, I don't think that this will ever be over. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you apologize to me. Never be over. I can't stand this dude. And Ja Rule goes to prison at one point. I don't remember what for. A part of me thinks 50 Cent had something to do with it, but there's no way for me to tell. But then, if I have my timing right, Ja Rule gets out of prison, and no matter when, I could be wrong about the timing here, but I know that the thing happened. Basically, Ja Rule has a concert, and it's gonna be like a big comeback, like get my career going type of concert, like a welcome home party, a revival of Ja Rule's career. And the tickets actually sell fast, which I was perplexed by. Because I was like, how? Not even as a hater, just like, I don't know. It's like if you found out everybody in the world was actually into air hockey, you'd be like, I had no idea. You always see the table there, but So the tickets were selling fast, and nobody was probably more excited than Ja Rule. And then the day comes for the concert, and Ja Rule goes out, and it turns out that 50 Cent had bought most of the seats. I do my best to put myself in other people's shoes. And I tried to imagine what it would be like if I came out here and y'all weren't here. If it was just 3 of y'all in the back that I had to yell to. Imagine that, trying to still do the show. Yeah, it's crazy out here. But I said all that to say that 50 Cent and everything that happened is to show you that that's the dude that hated Diddy. Hated him so much, hated him to his core, couldn't stand him. For years he hated him. There was even a moment, okay, I'm sure you saw this, but in case you didn't, it's one of the things that really showed me that he hated him on like a petty level, a professional level, business level, all of it. I'm pretty sure it was Diddy that posted a picture of himself. I don't know where he was. Maybe it was New York, maybe it was not Miami or something, but he was on a bike. And he was just riding his bike, and then 50 Cent commented, he's smiling because there's no seat on that bike. $50 Cent is funny, and he's not the one. If 50 Cent came at me, I'd be like, should I just shoot myself in the leg or what? I don't want any problems. I'm very sorry for whatever I did. Please don't do this. Because I don't know when it really started, but you take it back, all the way back to the early part of 50 Cent's career, and he's popping, he's killing it, right? Get Rich or Die Trying is an all-time hip-hop classic. Curtis, all-time hip-hop classic. This man is pumping out amazing music. He's having incredible tours and everything. And at one point, he goes, this is years later from the time I'm talking about, but we're going to get back there. He goes on the Breakfast Club, and he talks to them about, things he's promoting, and he's just chilling and everything. And Diddy comes up, and he tells this story of being at a wedding. I don't remember whose wedding, but he was at this wedding, and just hanging out and everything. And Diddy's there, and Diddy's chatting him up, being like, "Man, I like you. You real cool dude and everything. Like, yeah, we should hang out. Let me take you shopping sometime." And then 50 Cent said, "What?" And Diddy doesn't say anything wrong, so he repeats it. He's like, "No, let me take you shopping sometime." And he was like, "Man, get away from me." Because Diddy is so hated by 50 Cent that apparently a decade ago, 50 Cent just started gathering information on Diddy. As much as he could find. And he started working on a documentary series on how bad Diddy is. A documentary, he did interviews, he hates this man so much. I've heard of gossip. I've never heard of like, no, okay, we're gonna have the whole crew there by 3, all right? And we'll have a place for you to sit, we'll have some snacks and everything. We'll just chop it up, we'll just chat. Tell me everything that he did, that bastard, right? A documentary series that he's already potentially sold to Netflix. He hates this. I've never hated. So I not only do my best to not be a hateful person, I really try to let things go and not hate anybody. So I don't even know what it's like to hate someone. So I've never hated someone. So imagine hating someone so much you're willing to edit. You're willing to sit at the computer and be like, no, that's not. Let's see if we can make this B-roll work. This dude hates him so much that there's actually things on the cutting room floor that didn't make it in. Imagine you hate somebody so much you don't even have time for how much you hate them in the thing you made about hating them. And the craziest thing about it is that apparently, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I've been hearing. I looked it up from several outlets, and 50 Cent's documentary series about Sean Combs is titled, Diddy Do It? This is the worst enemy to have. You know, you read even some of the stuff that Diddy's accused of, and now some of the text messages have leaked of what people were saying to him and what he was saying to other people at different stages, leading from Cassie coming out about him to present. And yeah, this dude is the devil, you know? But it's also, you're gonna need to be patient with me because I'm gonna try to say it right and I'm probably gonna fail, but just hear me out. You can tell that these people texting Diddy, the things that we've seen so far, because the trial hadn't even started yet. So the things haven't even come out that are the things that people are worried about. Because trust me when I tell you, Diddy the Black Epstein, they already put that dude on watch. But you can tell that he was a terror to so many people for so long, you know? And it's indicative of how we don't believe and protect each other. You know, it's really important that we do. Someone like Diddy is a prime example. When someone comes to you and they tell you that something happened, not only do you need to hear them out, you need to listen to what they're saying, but you also need to, with them, try to find a place where they feel comfortable to tell you more. You know, and what can be done about what they're telling you? Because sometimes people tell you something, they don't know what else to do, so they tell you, and they're like, "Don't tell anybody, don't do anything," right? And I'm not saying you should disrespect a person's wishes. I'm just saying that on top of that, you really have to talk it out with them and be like, "Are you sure you don't want me to do anything? You don't think that there's any recourse? You don't think? Let me bring you options. Let me try to help you through this thing, right?" Because we don't do a good job of believing women, but I'm telling you this, and I know it's not gonna sound right when it first hits your ears, but please hear me out. We also need to do a much better job of believing men. Because it is not easy at all. It's one of the scariest things that a person can do to come forward as a survivor of anything that's happened to him. And when a woman comes forward and people do the thing, we already know what they're going to do. There's almost a playbook online of how they're going to treat her, what people are going to say, what's going to happen if it goes to trial, why now, they just want money, all the things. They never fail, right? But when a dude comes forward, you got to remember, this dude was probably willing to take that to the grave. And then something happened where he was like, no, I got to say something, right? There's so many people who would rather die than have people find out what happened to them. So if they tell you, you got to believe them. So many people are letting the fact that Diddy's bi overshadow the fact that he's a monster. That's what's crazy to me, is that it's like, oh man, Diddy was over here trying to kiss the back of this dude's neck. It's like, yeah, you mean assault him? Yeah, I know. I think that's why I'm so thankful for the era that we're in now of people being able to find things on the internet, just at large. I know the internet's a big place. I know there's a lot of artists, a lot of creatives and everything, but the fact that it's now more than ever in the hands of the people, as far as creativity goes and as far as like putting your work out there goes, it's a beautiful thing, because one of the reasons that people like Diddy were able to prevail for so long is because they had something. They had something that they could hold over people. They had power, they had money, they had your access to getting your work out there. And so people, let people like Diddy manipulate and put them in situations they would never be in otherwise, right? But he had the power of a label. One of the best things that Cassie's lawyers did with that lawsuit was implicate all the labels. They didn't just sue him as like Sean Combs. They were like, no, I'm suing everybody. I'm suing the whole thing, because the whole thing's connected, because you use the thing to manipulate. But you don't just walk into a room and be like, I'm Sean Combs, everyone get naked. That's not what's happening. You use the label. You use the fact that you can shelve people. You use the fact that maybe their projects will never come out. You use the fact that they're waiting on the money that they need to fund their project. You use all of these things, and you say things without saying them. And before you know it, you have people in a horrible situation. And one of the main things that I can't stop thinking about is how Diddy was able to get away with being Diddy for so long. Because there's so many times, there's so many little points in time where so many people's lives would have been different if Diddy had just gone to jail when he was supposed to go to jail, the other times he was supposed to go to jail. Like if you think back, way back, Diddy used to date J-Lo. And when Diddy and J-Lo were dating, they were like a hot couple, and they were always in the tabloids and stuff, and everybody was following them around. I remember, I can't remember if it was the VMAs or the BET Awards, but she went to some award show with a dress that had everybody like, God, that's J-Lo, that's crazy. Oh, and she became this it girl and everything, and she was dating Diddy at the time, and they went to a nightclub together. And when they went to this nightclub, I don't really know the circumstances of the fight starting, but somebody got in a fight with Diddy, right? And it's hard to tell when you in a fight at a nightclub. I've been to nightclubs before. I know it don't seem like it, but I've been to nightclubs before, and I've almost had some altercations at nightclubs. Not even because I meant to. I was just in there, just walking, having a good time, and then maybe somebody's yelling at you. Maybe they're trying to get your attention. Maybe they're trying to fight you. It's hard to tell all that stuff from regular dancing at a nightclub. Because when you see people dance at a nightclub, depending on who it is, they look like they're in their own fight. They look like they're in a battle with the rhythm. They look like they're taking swings at the melody. So it's hard to know that they want to fight you. And then people yell at a nightclub, but yelling is how you talk. It's so loud in here. Like I was in a nightclub one time, I was walking, and I must have like stepped on this guy's shoe or something. I didn't mean to. And he was like, hey, like yelling at me, trying to get my attention. And I just turned around and I was like, hi. And that's... That didn't do me any favors, right? Because I really didn't hear him, but leaning over and being like, ha, that's just offering up my face for the punching. And so Diddy got into some altercation with some dude, and no one knows everything that was said, but it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of like, well, I make money too and everything. And then apparently he grabbed some money and he threw it in Diddy's face, right? But This is the way I'd like to imagine it, because apparently it flew up in the air, and I think the only way that could happen is if he had the money, balled up in that roll of money, right? And that roll of money that you just keep together with a thin rubber band, right? So that way when it hits something, the whole thing explodes. And he's like, I make money too, and he threw it and it hit Diddy on the head and just pow. Then it started to rain, right? And so then, gets in this altercation, and then Diddy allegedly pulls a gun out, right? Starts firing off at this dude, okay? And whole gunfight ensued and everything. And that was one of the wildest nights because, Diddy and J-Lo were not quite I wouldn't say clean cut, because they were still party and hip hop, everything, but they were this it couple. And now this horrible thing had happened and they were at the center of it, right? And there was even a whole trial, and at the trial, J-Lo testified that she only saw Shine pull out a gun. Now, Shine, if you don't remember, was a rapper who was popping at the time. And he went to jail by himself for 10 years. Diddy didn't go to jail. And there was even a woman named Natanya Rubin. And Natanya Rubin has said many times, she never stopped saying it, that she saw Diddy pull his gun. And she knows that Diddy pulled his gun because Diddy shot her in the face. And she survived and everything, but she didn't get any media attention or anything. And then, publications just ran with the fact that J-Lo said Shine did it, and that was enough. Shine was guilty. He was off to jail. But even to this day, Natanya Rubin is like, you need to reopen the case. I'm right here. And she had her surgery and everything. And I mean, to a certain degree, I watched her. She did an interview recently, and you can't really tell, but she says she lives with that pain because there are fragments that they couldn't get out, right? And she's like, he needs to reopen the case. I want justice, And the journalist asked her, would you be willing to give one of the fragments and do the forensic test and everything, because they didn't do one apparently. And she said, yeah, of course. I got 9 fragments. I can spare one. The thing that did Diddy in, really, truly, from his own nature, from his own core, were money, power, and fame, right? And money, power, and fame is a dangerous combination. Messes up a lot of people. Money, because, guys, money. This is what trajectory of money does in the mind. When you have no money and you just imagine having some money, that's even enough money. When you have no money and you're like, man, it'd be nice to eat. That's the money for the meal in front of you is all you need in your mind. It's why people who are desperate, truly desperate, walk up to you and they don't ask for everything that they need. They ask for what they need to get by. They ask for change. They ask for the next thing that they need, because money changes perspective. As the more of it that you get, the more you become not necessarily an insane person, but your ideas, your wants and needs, they start to shift. And they usually, at a certain amount of money, leave Earth. Why do you think all the billionaires are trying to go to space? They're like, I did it all. I did everything here. What's up there? Can I own that? That'd be nice. Money messes with your mind. And then sometimes you think, man, if I had enough money for this thing, I'd be so good. I'd be so benevolent. And maybe you would. But maybe you wouldn't. Maybe having that money and getting attached to it would attach you to it so tight that now I don't really want to have less than this. I don't know anyone working in America that's willing to get paid less. We all have, and some of it's just human nature. We all have a little upward mobility, thinking about what's next, thinking about how we can build up. I'm not saying that's wrong at all. I'm saying at a certain amount of money, you just lose your mind. And then power. Money and power, they get people to do some of the same things. Money, I'll give you an example. I was in Vietnam a little while ago, right? And the Vietnamese dong, which is their currency, right? One of our dollars is about, at least at the going rate right now, currency exchange-wise, is about 24,200 dong. So if you go there with your yearly salary, you are a billionaire in dong. And we look at our billionaires a certain type of way. We look at them as like, why is this piece of shit hoarding all this wealth? Is he out of his mind? Does he not know how many people he could help? This is crazy. It's billions and billions of dollars. And then you talk to a billionaire and they're like, oh yeah, well, I had this idea of how we could like get to space and stuff. So I'll just do that. It's like, we're dying. Why would you? No one cares about space. Why are you hoarding all of it? And then you hear, even in like a billionaire's, I listen to the audiobook because I don't like to read about... I want to know a billionaire's life, but to read it and learn it all slow feels upsetting. I'm just like, let me just let someone tell me so I can feel like I'm talking to a friend, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's a little bit smoother of a process. But you talk about, you know, like a billionaire, and the way that they think about us is insane. There are even billionaires that they've said it. Different billionaires are different levels of like loose-lipped. And there are billionaires that have properly said to a camera that they knew was recording. If people knew how good my life was, they would bring back the guillotine. That's what he said. And then you hear other billionaires tell it, and they're like, well, you know, if people are too dumb or too lazy or too scared to take the chances to make money, that's on them. The way that they think about us is insane. But then you see an American, a Brit, maybe somebody from Australia, go to Vietnam and be a billionaire, and it is harrowing how many people turn into our billionaires there. I watched it. I was in a market, right? And there was this British lady that was trying to haggle with this woman who had made this like homemade, like knitted little bag, right? And she was charging like, I don't know, maybe like 5,000 dong for it. Now remember, I told you $1 was 24,000 dong. And this British lady is actually like haggling with her. Like being like, what about 4,000? She's like, no, it's 5. It's like, what about 475? No, 5. And she doesn't know much English, and the British lady's getting annoyed with her, and I'm getting furious because I'm like, you realize the pound is doing better than the dollar, so you're just haggling like, what if I gave you nothing? Would nothing be good? What about nothing? You would love nothing, though. Like, if I gave you nothing, that'd make me feel better as I left. And this person is a billionaire, at least right now. You can tell that they're broke in Britain, though. Like, only a broke person would go somewhere else and then try to be rich really hard. Like, that's... I don't know why you front. You know you could only afford the flight. I don't know why you acting like this right now. Acting like these people are trying to cheat you out of something. You know you already have a leg up. It's crazy. But it is how billionaires think sometimes. Because then when we work at a corporation that's $1 billion, maybe even you work at Apple, Amazon, you work at one of the truly big ones that's about to hit the trillions of dollars, right? And then you want a raise, and you want a substantial raise, and it's nothing for them because they have billions of dollars, and they're still like, why should we give you anything? It's the same mentality, right? And so Diddy had money, and he had the type of money that makes people do things, bend to your will and everything. And so he bent it, and he had power. And this is the thing about power. I'm someone who wants very little power. Because I don't know, I can think about what I might do, but I don't know what I would do with power. That's terrifying. Don't give me power. If I had the power to make Ted Cruz punch himself in the balls... Whether it was like X-Men mind control or if I just had enough money that he would do it. Like, if I could make Ted Cruz punch himself in the balls non-stop, his balls would never rest. I would go overboard with my power. And Diddy had lots of power. He had power, he had influence, and he used all of it to garner more and to truly hurt people. He didn't care who he hurt. You can see it when you read the indictment. And he did it for long as well, you know? And then fame is the last thing. Fame, you can't actually control, especially now. There are people that want to be very famous, and they might get there. And then there are people who don't mean to be famous at all, but then someone's just recording, and then a TikTok is made. Like, there are people who become famous overnight, and all they did was trip. That's too random. Fame is the one that gets away from you. Money, you can decide how much money you want to keep, how much money you want to make, especially if you have the means to just be making boatloads of money. You can take a step back and be like, a lot of money is enough money. I don't need all the money. Power you wield, and power you can also give away. You can tell someone, I want to bring you in. I want to make you powerful as well, right? Fame, not really. There are plenty of people that the industry has tried to make famous, and we were like, nah. But people with power, people with money, they can promise fame, even if they can't deliver. And because they have so much money and so much power, it looks like they can give you fame. And so that's another way that Diddy manipulated and abused people, was through his fame and the promise of fame that was to come to them. Right? And money, power, and fame is actually what screwed Diddy. Not just his own. The fact that he finally met up with the U.S. government. No government is more powerful with more money or more famous. And when you put the two up against each other, his is... You know, money and power and fame of the U.S. government, the money that they have. You think you have money, they can freeze your money. You can show up to court and they'll be like, oh, you broke. Oh, I'm sorry, you thought you had money? Oh, I feel terrible for you. It must suck to be broke. They can freeze your accounts. You know? Power? You want to talk about federal power? Look at the conviction rate of federal prosecutors. It's in the 90s for a reason. You know? People either plead out or they're like, no, I'm going to be vindicated in court. And the U.S. government is like, I bet you won't. Fame? What government is more famous, especially as far as their judicial system? What government is more famous than the U.S. government? You know? They looking at Diddy right now like, oh, you blew up Kid Cudi's car, that's cute. We killed MLK. And Malcolm X. No, you're done, bro. No, it's over. Because I think about how does a person become that evil? You know what I mean? A lot of it is ego. Ego is a dangerous thing. Ego is like a dish that only feeds you false fruit, right? Like the more that you eat off of your own ego, the more you starve your spirit. Like it's the way to sickness, you know? Like ego is this like still small voice, right? Telling you The most important thing is I. Like ego stands in like the middle of pride right there. But then when things happen, when consequence comes, ego never shows up. Ego is like a friend. Ego's like a friend that's like, hey, come on, the door's unlocked. Let's get in this house. No, let's just see what's inside. There might be some good stuff in there. It's like, but it's not my house. Come on. Then ego gets you to go in there. And then you're like, there's some shiny stuff. And then you start grabbing stuff. And then before you know it, you see blue and red lights. And you're like, come on, we got to get out. And ego's gone already. Like, I think about how it got here, you know, and how many people Diddy hurt and why he was allowed to get away with it for so long. And I can't help but think that a lot of what he was allowed to get away with is because it happened to black women. You know what I mean? When people say protect black women, they don't mean that black women can't protect themselves. We mean that when you look at the stats and you look at who the powerful people hurt because they know they can do it, it's the same people. I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope Diddy gets life. And I hope he lives forever.
For Josh Johnson!
There's a lot of times when you're reading the news, going through all these stories that are deeply depressing. Every once in a while you get something that's a little, I don't know, a little spark. Something that takes your mind off of all the bad stuff, even if it is one of the bad things, you know? Like, I don't know if y'all saw, but Diddy's lawyer trying to quit. Diddy. If you're not familiar, Diddy is gonna be buried under a prison, but in the Constitution, for as long as we have one, there are things. For as long as we have a Constitution, there are things laid out in it that state your rights as a citizen, you know, and your rights in court. You have the right to not incriminate yourself. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right to a speedy trial. You know, you have these rights because we've tried to set up to the best of our ability and not a great ability, a justice system that kind of works. You know what I mean? I look at the American justice system the way I look at my uncle's car, right? It barely runs, but it does turn on and off. Like functionally, it is still a car, even if you do have to push it sometimes to really get it started, and you can't trust the brakes. It's functionally it fills the definition of a car. You know? And when I look at the justice system, I'm like, it's a system. But within that system, for as long as we've had it, we've had an individual, whether they did or did not do something, needs to be represented by someone up against the state or the party suing them. And the people that take on these criminal cases, maybe they take them on because they just know our system works best when there's at least someone where it won't be popular, but there's someone to stand on the other side of the thing to make sure that the scales are balanced, that gives an honest effort, even if this person
did what they're accused of doing is a monster. None of that matters, because for the justice system to be a system, we at least have to walk in the door with the scales at balance, right? Innocent till proven guilty, and just something so that we don't all tear each other apart. And then there are people who really believe their clients. They really believe in the innocence of this person. They're like, I know this thing looks bad, and I know from every angle that everyone should just throw their hands up. But I believe this person when they told me that they didn't do it, and so they represent them, right? And neither of those seem to be the case for Diddy. Like that was all mostly theoretical. It's just his lawyer quitting. His lawyer's name, I might be mispronouncing it, but I'm pretty sure it's Anthony Rico, which is one of the most insane last names to have while not wanting to represent Diddy at all. That would be like your lawyer's name being Danny Murder, and he's like, I can't be next to you though. That's wild that I can't be over here. Because I didn't even know that lawyers, I didn't know that lawyers could quit. Everything I know about the law, I know from like movies and TV and stuff. And usually when you're watching a movie or TV show where someone is having, you know, a butting head scene with their lawyer, it's either the lawyer being like, well, look, if you're not going to be honest with me, you're not going to tell me everything, then you can just find somebody else. And you don't really know what that means, right? Or the person in jail be like, or you're not even doing your job. You don't even believe me. You know what? You're fired. And then I don't know what that means. You know? But in Diddy's case, this person, I didn't know that you couldn't just quit. I didn't know that you could quit, but I also, if you could quit, I didn't know you couldn't just quit. This is sounding dumber than I'm intending it to sound, but I'm telling you the way I found out. I didn't know that you could quit. And then when I found out you could quit, I didn't know that you couldn't just leave. You have to file a motion to quit. You have to like let the judge know I need to quit. You can't just quit the way you quit at Costco. You can't just walk out middle shift. Like, you know what, I'm gonna do something else in my life. You know? And so, you know, he filed a motion so that he could quit, and in the motion he says, under no circumstances can I continue. Woof. Under no circumstances can I continue. This man's paying you millions of dollars. Under no circumstances can I continue. And then they, you know, you ask, hey, why can't you continue? And he said, you know, hey, look, I'm not going to give you any reasons, okay? You know, people are asking, I'm not going to give you any reasons, okay? Because that would violate attorney-client privilege, which I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the law. I don't know many laws at all. But that sounds very guilty to me. That sounds wildly guilty. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the law. That sounds very guilty. It feels like when you're saying, hey, why are you quitting? Because I have to. Why? I can't tell you it would violate attorney-client privilege. Just that sounds like he did it then. That sounds like he did everything then. And the thing that's special about this particular lawyer, Anthony Rico, saying under no circumstances can I continue, is that this guy was Osama bin Laden's lawyer. And it's like that. Sir, what did he do? What did he do to make you, who defended Osama bin Laden, who defended Osama bin Laden in 2001, Pink Osama? If there was ever a time where the heat was on Osama bin Laden, it was 2001. And you were right there, like my client. But Diddy You were Diddy's lawyer. And you were like, you know what? Terrorism is one thing. This guy is nasty, okay? That is very nasty. I can't be a part of this. Tonight it doesn't sit well with my soul. Oh. Because I know if you're Diddy's lawyer, you got your work cut out for you. You got a whole lot of work cut out for you. You have to hope a new pandemic breaks out that only affects memory. That's the only way you have a chance, is if almost everybody forgets everything. Because look, once again, most of what I know about the law, most of what I know about the law comes from like Law and Order, which means I know nothing about the law. Because in Law and Order, they got to wrap it up pretty quick. You know, they take you on a journey, but they got to wrap it up by the end of the episode. Everything can't be to be continued, you know? And so they got to wrap it up. So if they choose to have any of the episode take place in court, a lot of times what will happen, especially if you get into those close minutes where you're like, ooh, it's almost top of the hour. How are we going to resolve this, right? They usually just have the prosecutor, like the DA or the ADA, really badger the defendant, right? Like, you did it, didn't you do it? You did it, and you do it again. You looking and doing it right now. You did it, and you did it, and you did it well, and then you did it, and then you got caught, and you wish you were doing it right now. Look at you, you're not even here. You're letting your eyes glaze over. You're in your mind doing it again. Look at him, he's doing it again right now. He's doing it in front of us, and doing it, and doing it, and doing it. Didn't you do it? Just say you did it, because you did it, and we all know that you did it. You'll never not have done it because you did it and you know you did it. You do it again if we let you out. You doing it right now in your mind. You did it, and then the other person finally goes, I did it. And usually they freak out and they're like, I can't handle having to say no more than 8 times. I did it. Oh no, the jury. Dick Wolf. And that's not how it actually works in the real world. Like, sure, there are people who testify and then don't help their case. You know, they get up there and they say things that maybe make them look like they're not sorry or make them look more guilty than they're even presumed to be and everything. But you don't really have that with Diddy. Not just because the trial hasn't started, but with Diddy, he did record himself doing everything he's accused of doing, and the FBI has it. That is pretty bad. Only thing worse than doing something is doing it on camera. You know? Even if the entire jury could not see, they could hear. So it's rough. He also has not only the lawyer that Osama bin Laden had, Diddy's got like 3, 4, 5, 6 lawyers. Got a lot of lawyers. I didn't even know you could have that many lawyers. I guess you can have as many lawyers as you want, but like that already. I'm not a lawyer. Glad I'm not on the jury, but that looks very guilty to me. Everyone that I know who's ever gone to jail or been found innocent and didn't go to jail, they had one lawyer. They had one lawyer to be like, hey, it's just me and he didn't do it. That was the whole proceeding, right? They didn't have a soccer team. That's crazy. You got so many lawyers. I bet you that was one of the things that his lawyer said. He was like, look, you're gonna be good. You got 80 other lawyers. Okay, you don't need me. Let me go. Please, I know too much. No, because at a certain point, a certain amount of lawyers, I know that everyone has their specialties, but that looks bad to me, at least. It's like you need that many specialties at once. You accused of that many things that you go ahead and break up the work like a group project. And then to say you have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 92 lawyers, for any one of them to quit does make everything look worse. You know who didn't quit? OJ's lawyer. OJ's lawyer saw everything. He even saw him in the Bronco, and he was still like, I got you. We gonna be good. You know who else did quit? Jeffrey Dahmer's lawyer. He saw that to the end. Ted Bundy didn't even quit defending himself. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. Let me see how this plays out. At any point, he could be like, you know what? I'm making me look extra guilty. Let me go ahead and get some help in here. No, it's mind-blowing. I don't get it. You represent Osama bin Laden. And he was number one in the world. You went for the criminal. You repped the criminal. And whatever we're finding out about Diddy behind closed doors, you were like, not this. Yuck. No. Because you see people in situations where they look incredibly guilty or they do something very dumb that's almost indefensible and they still have legal representation that sticks by them. There was a dude who, okay. I shouldn't laugh, but it's one of the dumbest crimes I've ever heard of. So basically, there was this dude who went to break into his house. He lived with his mom, right? But he was gonna go ahead and rob the house and try to sell a bunch of stuff off, right? So then he broke into the house and then got caught because I guess police were just happened to drive by, right? And then they see him breaking the window, going into the house. Had a key, breaking the window, going into the house, and then coming out with the stuff. They arrest him, and he can't believe. He's like, you have no right to arrest me. And at first, because he's explaining everything, they thought they had no right to arrest him because it was his place where he lived with his mom, even though it was her house, right? And he said, no, you have no right to arrest me because it's daytime. He genuinely believes you could only get arrested for burglary at night. And his lawyer didn't quit. There was a dude who he tried to rob a bank. He ran up in the bank. This was years ago. This dude ran up in the bank and had his gun out, and he was like, go ahead and empty everything right now. I'll kill everybody. I don't care, swinging the gun and everything. And then the tellers were like, do you want a bag? Because he just came in, just him and the gun, just waving, him and the gun. No bag, no, not even a backpack, just here with the gun. The money now. And they were like, would you like something to hold it with or anything? And he was like, damn right, it's a real gun. And they were like, sir, we asked, would you like a bag? Would you like a bag with the money? We're getting the money right now, but would you like a bag? And he's like, you're right, I've had it. And then they turned to each other and they're like, I don't think he can hear us. And so then they hit the alarm. The alarm going off, this dude's standing there. I'm waiting for my money. They're like, no, we're getting it. They get the money, they get the bag, and before he can even leave the bank, cops roll up. And basically, yeah, he was hearing impaired. And so then he sued them for taking advantage of his disability. And his lawyer stood by him. Do you see how this normally works? That's how it's supposed to go. Your lawyer is supposed to stand by you. They're supposed to be your ride or die. Diddy's lawyer said, no, I like to live and I will not be getting in the car. Oh. That's insanity. That many lawyers. You got 98,000 lawyers. I feel like Diddy just gonna keep hiring lawyers to make sure there's no one left to be on the jury. I don't even know what you would do. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at a situation like this where the whole world knows about Diddy and Diddy's case, right? It's global news, right? And everyone is expecting things to come out during his case. So there's more eyes on it than even when it started. It wasn't just a thing that popped up, oh, Diddy got arrested and then it's over. It's the fact that all of Hollywood could be implicated. That's the feeling that people have, right? So people are going to be watching the trial nonstop for every update possible because maybe your favorite pop star, maybe your least favorite R&B artist, whoever, right, will be involved in this case somehow. And so the whole world will be watching, and the whole world already knows. So how could you not have, in a sense, at least if you're Diddy's defense, a tainted jury? Because how are you going to pull from people who can be impartial, who don't know who Diddy is, right? And then when you pull those people, a judge can say, and judges tell people all the time, look, I don't want you to engage with any media about the case. I don't want you reading any tabloids or social media or anything like that. And don't talk to anybody about the case. No podcast, no whatever, right? No interviews, no nothing. And even if you do that, it's impossible because of the way that we live in the world and the way that we interact with social to not be bombarded with things about whatever the biggest news topic is. So then how is it possible for Diddy to have a fair jury, right? And his lawyer could have made that case just now. And instead he said, no, I'm getting away from this dude. I cannot be near him at all. That's so bad that the only black lawyer he had was like, nah. You're not gonna get me caught up. Because you know, I think he's just scared. I think he's scared that he's so close to it that he's literally just representation, but he might go to jail. That can happen. I didn't know that could happen, but that can happen. I had never seen it happen in my life until Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, in case you don't remember, was Trump's lawyer. And Trump got in some legal trouble, and somehow Michael Cohen went to jail. That's a superpower. That's a superpower if I've ever seen one. I've never seen someone dodge charges so hard they hit their lawyer in the chest. That's crazy. That's the I'm rubber, you're glue of law. That's insane. Trump had all this legal trouble. He's like, take him. Michael, I'm sure Diddy's lawyer saw that and was like, that could happen to me. I refuse. My last name is already Rico. No, have to get away. Because who takes up for you is huge. Who takes up for you in a situation where you're in the public eye and you have a scandal or you've been found to have done something, right? Whoever takes up for you, they do shift the narrative around you, and they do shift public opinion, either for you or against you, right? Like, let's say in a scenario, right? Completely hypothetical scenario. Let's say I'm driving. I can't. I'm very bad at it. But let's say I'm driving. Once again, this would never happen, all right? I failed my driving test and I have not driven since, okay? I'm very bad. But let's say I'm driving behind the wheel of a car, which I should never be. It's a chair that could kill someone. It is insane that people just get in those and just go. Like, that blows my mind. I will take an Uber or the bus. I am fine without being behind the wheel of a death machine because all it takes is your foot and you could just take anybody out. That's crazy. I don't like being in cars in the front driving. Every time I move, it moves. That's crazy. I don't like that at all. I'll sit in the back. But let's say I'm driving, okay? And I'm driving because maybe my friend is hurt. Maybe my friend's like, oh no, I'm bleeding. No, I've been shot, whatever it is. And then he's like, you have to drive me to the hospital. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll kill us both. And so then I get in the car, and then I'm hitting stuff. I'm just, because I don't know which one's the gas and which one's the brake, because honestly, they should be further apart. In my opinion, it should be like go-karts, like right foot gas, left foot brake. And then you can just drive like this. This feels more natural to me. I don't know what y'all are doing with this thing. This feels insane. To see people doing this all the time, ooh, I'ma start, I'ma stop, I'ma start, I'ma stop, whatever. I wanna just do it like when you're in a go-kart. I drive so well in a go-kart, not just because I can't go fast enough to murder, but also because I know that left is stop, and that's fine. But sometimes you get a foot, uh-oh, I've hit them both. What does that do? So then I'm in the car and I'm driving, right? And I'm doing it poorly because I do it poorly. Because as I've said before, on stage, to many people, I don't like lefts. So I take rights until I get there, okay? So I'm just gonna take a right and then take a right, take a right. My friend probably gonna bleed out, but I'm taking these rights because a left will kill everybody, right? Now, I get to the hospital, let's say I've got to the hospital and I have run over at least 26 people, okay? So I'm being arrested, my friend is hopefully being treated, so I've saved his life, but I am in a lot of trouble. And let's say that Dolly Parton came to my defense, right? Because I'm not famous enough to get in trouble on the news, but there might be a couple of tweets where it's like, do you see that comedian just floored everybody? Just drove on the sidewalk for 6 blocks and took a right and drove on the sidewalk for 4 more blocks and took a right and drove on the sidewalk for 2 blocks and then took a right and then got to the hospital and hit somebody in front of the hospital. And I only hit them because I was trying to hit the brake, but it should be over here. But instead, it's in the middle. I guess. I don't know. I'm never in the car right there. I don't know what y'all do. Why isn't it just pep? Why isn't it just buttons? Let me hit a gas button. That would be nice. To just have the wheel and then a button. Right thumb is gas, left thumb is brake, and it's like a video game, but instead you're just over here. Crazy way to do it, but y'all do you, okay? Let's say, though, that Dolly Parton comes to my defense. Probably never gonna happen. I don't know her, would love to, but let's say. She's like, I know Josh personally, okay? And I know he would never purposely run over 26 people. It must have been something that happened. And you say he was in a car. He said he would never do that. It must be an emergency. Oh, he was trying to help his friend. Y'all, please, if you can find it in your heart, to forgive Josh and his dumb feet. I'm just saying, if Dolly Parton came to my defense, I think that would shift a lot of people's opinion of me. Everyone loves Dolly Parton. Everybody knows Dolly Parton is a sweetheart. And so if she came to someone's defense, you would think, oh, if Dolly sees something in this person, then yeah, maybe they're a good person. Maybe she's right. Maybe he didn't mean to run over 26 people. No. I don't know what Diddy does from here, because the guy who represented Osama bin Laden dipped. I don't know who you get after that. That seemed like the bottom or the top, depending on what your definition of willing to represent evil is. I don't, like, if the dude who represented Osama is like, I'm a dip, I don't know who else would jump in, you know? Giuliani? Okay, well, he lost his license. I'm positive he lost his license. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's the only one who can do it. I have no idea. Because someone did come to Diddy's defense in the wake of Diddy losing that representation, you know, close proximity to Diddy's lawyer being like, I can't do this anymore. Someone did come to Diddy's defense publicly. Unfortunately, It was Kanye West. In a tweeting tirade, Kanye West went on an absolute rampage. He called himself a Nazi. He posted a bunch of like anti-Semitic stuff. He said all sorts of things. And then he said, by the way, free Puff. I think if you're Diddy in jail, you're like, this is worse. That is worse. I did not know it could get worse than the Osama bin Laden lawyer leaving me. But this is bad. This is very, very bad. That was me kind of like doing a little bit of rap in the way that Diddy does it because he's not good at it. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, this is bad. This is worse because he's calling himself a Nazi and then he's like also that guy. Think of that guy and me together right now. Think of when you think of me, I want you to think of him, all right? But who knows? Maybe when the lawyer who represented Osama bin Laden dips, maybe the only person left to represent you is Ye. I think that's I could see that. I could see Ye showing up to court being like, Your Honor, I rest my case.